Blessed day to all listeners and to you, Louie. Before I share my experience, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Christine, by the way. I grew up in Albuera, Leyte, and currently living here in Mahaplag, Leyte. Now I'm working here in one of the establishments. I will not mention anything about where I currently live and work, because what happened in the story that I will be sharing today didn't happen here, but in the place where I was born and raised. It happened in the 80s. I was only 20 years old. In this time of the story, I was accompanying my cousin to a festival that will take place in a remote village. By the way, I will not mention the village where we went to, because this is where the story happened, and also out of respect for the people who live in that village. The story started when my cousin Nora invited me to go to another barrio because there was a festival, and her classmate invited her to go to her house. The house was located in a remote barrio and far from civilization. About the place we went to, the house is near the rice field. You will also pass by some coconut groves and palm trees before you arrive, and there are also vast lands planted with fruit trees. There are few houses and each houses are far apart. What now, Insan? Please say yes so that I have someone with me when I go there. Mom doesn't want me to wander around without you. You know that my mom only trusts you. My cousin begged me. I laughed and joked that I don't want to go because I don't like events. Especially since the place is very far from where they live. Come on, Insan, come with me. This is the only time I'm asking you for a favor. Come on. She said to me again, begging and begging. Hey, I'm not interested in any social gathering, you know that. I said. Please, Insan, come with me. My parents won't really allow me if you don't come with me. My cousin kept begging, so I had no choice but to accompany her. Her parents won't allow her to go to her friend's house alone. She was very happy to hear that I agreed to accompany her, but I told her that there is a condition. She said that whatever condition is fine with her as long as the important thing is that she can go to her friend's place. I told her that it was necessary to include our male cousins, Mark and Neil, because we're going to the Barrio late in the afternoon, and it is far away. Another thing is that we don't know what's in that place and something bad might happen to us. Okay, Insan, there's no problem. So how about later, huh? Please don't forget to let Mom know that we're going out later together. She said happily. I nodded and said I'll go see them later after I talk to our other cousins. When my cousin left, I told my parents that I was just going somewhere with my cousins. My mother didn't ask where I was going, but she reminded me to be careful. It was already late in the afternoon when we set off for the next barrio. While we were walking, I noticed a woman who was not very old, I guess she's just over 50, standing by the side of the road not far from us. The woman just stared intently at us without removing her gaze. Even though we had been walking for a few minutes, the woman was just staring at us. So it makes me wonder if the woman needs something from them, and why she is following us with her gaze. I decided to approach the woman and ask her if she needed something from them, but I didn't get the chance to because my cousins were happily chatting while walking on the side of the road and they kept asking me questions. I focused my attention on my cousins, and I didn't bother to try to talk to the old woman who was still staring at us intently. I thought maybe she was just resting on the side of the road and just looking at the passers-by. But after we passed by the woman, I noticed that there was something wrong, like the way the old woman was looking at them. And I also noticed that her hair was dirty and loose on her shoulders, as if she was a beggar. I also smelled a strange odor coming from the woman. The smell of body odor, like she had not bathed for a month. That's exactly what I smelled from her, Loie. Even my cousins have covered their noses. And Nora looked at me and asked, "What's that smell?" "It's stinky." "Maybe you farted there, huh?" she exclaimed. "Hey, don't accuse me of that. I just took a bath." Maybe it was Neil who farted. He's not just saying it, and he looks like he didn't take a bath earlier. "Hey, I just took a shower. Maybe one of you hasn't taken a bath," said Neil. They were very noisy, and I lightly elbowed Nora to stop talking, and in a hushed voice, I told her that the woman was following them. I felt so nervous, and I can hear the strong beating of my heart, all because of the presence of an old woman following us very closely. "Come on, cousins, it will be dark soon, we need to walk faster," I said to them. And we walked hurriedly. We all felt very nervous. I feel as if something bad will happen to us. I breathed a sigh of relief when the woman swerved off the path and entered a narrow road that led to a patch of tall grass. "Hey, who's that?" "Seriously, that old woman made me nervous," Nora exclaimed. We stopped for a moment when we couldn't see the old woman anymore. "I don't know, but the way she looked at us is as if we've done something wrong." Dominic shook his tongue. "I was very nervous there," Nora said, clinging to my arm. "Maybe that old woman is just sick, that's why she looked like that," I said. "Yes, of course, maybe that old woman is just sick." Neil also agreed to what I said. Mark and Nora didn't say a word, instead they just walked silently. We all thought the woman was very weird. I was still very nervous as we continued walking, because we were new to that barrio, and there were very few houses in the area and many tall, big trees, which makes the place spookier. Not to mention the old woman earlier who stared at them creepily and suddenly followed them. Anyone in that situation will be creeped out for sure. We can't help but think that the old woman might ambush us on our way home. That's why my cousin Neil suggested that later, when we go home, we should carry a stone, or whatever stick we can pick up on the road, because that old woman might be waiting for them. We think maybe that old woman is crazy, and will suddenly do something bad to us when she sees us on the road later on. Because we didn't have any other road to take but the one we took to that remote village. "You're right, cousin, it's better to be prepared in case something bad happens," Nora said. "What are you talking about? Come on, let's walk faster so we can get to where we're going," I said to them. About an hour later, and darkness completely covered the whole area. We finally arrived at the house where the party was being held. Nora's friend immediately let us in and took care of us. I saw a young man approach Nora, and Nora immediately hugged him. Then Nora introduced him to us. So he was the brother of Nora's friend, and he was also Nora's boyfriend. "Oh, that's why this stinky girl is so excited to come here. It's because of that man. You really are my cousin, and I want to pinch you in the groin," I said in my mind. "Why did you arrive just now? We have been waiting for you. I thought you wouldn't be able to come here, dear," said the young man to Nora. "Is that possible? I really want to see you too," Nora replied weakly. I was embarrassed watching them looking lovey-dovey and said, "Hey, You both should be ashamed of us singles and other people looking at you. The two laughed, and Nora's friend Rowena led us to the dining area. Okay, enjoy the food guys. Later we will go to the center of the barrio, where there's music and dancing. It will be fun, Rowena said with enthusiasm. So we started eating, and after we had our fill, Nora said that it's time go to the disco. She can't wait to dance with her boyfriend. My cousins and I laughed because out of the four of us, only Nora was so excited. Nora was still a little immature. That's why her parents didn't allow her to go anywhere without one of her three cousins. She was nearly harmed one night when she went alone to her classmate's house. She was almost got raped by two men. Luckily, two policemen were patrolling the area that night. After 10 minutes of walking, we reached the place where the disco was held, and we immediately went inside and then took our seats. A few moments later, Rowena's cousin came, and he was carrying some wine, chips and roasted peanuts. After we sat down, we started drinking, when suddenly I saw an old woman wearing a black dress, standing outside the fence where we were stationed. It was a bit dark where the old woman stood. I looked at her intently, and I found her quite familiar. I turned my attention back to my cousins and friends, but felt a weird feeling, and I turned to look back again at the old woman. I was shocked when I realized she was the same old woman who was following us earlier. I was creeped out when I saw the old woman staring intently at our group. I immediately approached Nora and told her about what I had seen. But it seems that her cousin's full attention is on her boyfriend, and they're flirting shamelessly. Then she suddenly answered without thinking and said, "Just leave that old woman alone. She won't be able to come near us." I frowned and asked, "Weren't you afraid of that old woman earlier? Do you think we should talk about this? What if she's just waiting for us, and then later, she will attack and we might get hurt?" "Come on, cousin, let's just leave the old woman alone." Then she called Nico, her boyfriend's cousin. "Hey Nico, can you take Christine to the dance floor? She's getting paranoid here and she needs to unwind," she suggested. "Hey, I don't know how to dance." "You're really crazy, you know, eh?" I couldn't finish what I was going to say when Nico suddenly asked me to dance with him. I noticed that the music has changed to a sweet, romantic, slow music. It was music meant for sweet dancing. That's how it is here in the province, Loie. And up until now, the sweet dance is still a trend in every disco held in each barrio. This is the only chance for young men to confess to the girls they like. They will invite the girls they like to dance with them, in the middle of the hall, surrounded by spectators. And of course the young men who want to dance with the girls, pretend to be shy. Then they will showcase their skill in dancing and flirting to impress the girl. In the provinces, especially here in the Visayan region, these kind of things happen every now and then when there is a festival. The disco in every festival is not complete without the sweet dance, where young men and ladies are thrilled to get to know each other more. Now, let's go back to the story. I was pissed off after Nico asked me for a dance. I really don't know how to dance, and there were many people watching from the side. But when we were in the middle of the dance floor, Nico held my waist and whispered softly in my ear, "Just relax, don't be nervous, it's just me." He gave me a silly wink. I got annoyed by his smooth antics, and I wanted to slap him. I'm not used to this kind of socializing. I'm a boring person and I don't know how to react to flirtings. But I realized that his cousins were looking at us, so I kept quiet. After a while I decided to sit down because I was feeling tired and a little dizzy from the wine I drank. After I sat down, Nora's friend suggested that we go back to their house because it's already 1 a.m. Let's all go home now so that we can all rest, Nora's boyfriend said. While we were on our way home, Nico turned on the flashlight so we will have light on the way. We chatted while walking and the old woman from earlier at the disco also crossed my mind. When we passed by a grove of coconut trees, I felt and heard something rustling on a patch of cogon grass by the side of the road. Then I saw a black bird flying past us. Every now and then I also hear the chirping of a tick-tick. But I just thought that maybe it's just a bird, because I heard from old folks that tick-tick is just a bird. That's why at first I didn't pay attention to it, but I was starting to get really nervous, because I kept feeling that something bad was going to happen. Maybe it's just wild animals that I hear making rustling noise on the side of the road. After a few minutes of walking, we passed by an open sari-sari store, and there were a few people drinking wine there. We stopped by and bought something, then we continued walking. Later, I felt a strange presence, as if someone was following us. I felt a thump in my chest. But every time I looked behind us, I didn't see anyone. But then, the fourth time I looked back, I saw a big black cat following us. Neil, why do I feel like the cat behind is following us? I asked my cousin Neil while pointing at the rare big-sized cat behind us. I could hear its breathing as it followed behind us. Until later, I felt the air around us change. It suddenly became oily and I could smell a strange stench. I covered my nose because the smell was so bad it was suffocating. It is the smell of a sewer where there's a pile of garbages and rotting dead animals. That's what I smelled at that time, Loie. Tol, you stink. What kind of perfume are you using? I heard Nora's boyfriend jokingly ask Nico. And they burst out laughing. You guys should be serious. I've been noticing the cat following us for a while now, Nico scolded. And they quickly turned to the cat he was referring to. I looked back again at the cat following us. But at that moment, we were frozen in place and could not move, because what we saw was an old woman, the same old woman we encountered earlier. The old woman was rubbing oil on herself, and the smell coming from the old woman was so bad that I almost vomited. I think it is because of the greasy oil that she rubs on her body. The old woman was prostrating on the ground, then she raised her arms and slowly crawled towards us. And its viscous saliva drips incessantly. Its red eyes were burning like coals, glaring at us. When it was close to where we were, I heard every breath it took. Its breathing were rough and there were gurgling sound coming from her as if there was a lot of phlegm in her chest. That's an aswang. That creature is an aswang. Run! Nico shouted. He immediately grabbed me by the hand and pulled me quickly. I don't know what to do at that time, Loie. I was so scared that I can't move. My knees were shaking and I'm almost in a trance. When I finally got a glimpse of the aswang's full appearance, I was dumbstruck. You can only imagine how ugly that creature looks. The eyes were red and wide open. Its face wrinkled and there were many long teeth protruding from its mouth. The aswang looks like a mixture of a goat's face and a cat's face. Its thick saliva dripped on the ground non-stop. Its sharp claws were long, scratching the ground. That's it, That's how the Aswang looks like. And it scares me to death. Fortunately, Nico didn't leave me because when my friends were running, I couldn't move my legs. "Come on, Christine, let's run." Nico's words aroused my attention because I was just staring at the creature. He pulled me and almost dragged me as we ran to the house of Rona's friend, while asking for help. Good thing just before the Aswang overtook us, we had reached the yard of the house, and we quickly asked for help from the people there. When I looked back, I saw that the creature was already far away. The people who were drinking at Rowena's house quickly chased after it, but the Aswang escaped quickly, so the people chasing weren't able to catch it. "Are you alright, Christine? I was worried about you," Nico asked me. And he checked to see if I had any injuries because I stumbled a few times while he was dragging me. "I'm fine. Don't worry," I responded while panting. I was surprised to learn that this guy is also kind and considerate. I really thought he was like one of those who only care about themselves. "Hey. You're staring at me. I know I'm handsome, don't make it obvious that you are so attracted to me," he said, smiling. But this guy always tends to brag. But to be honest, Loie, I felt a little admiration for Nico in those moments. Because even though he is a bit arrogant, he is considerate and will never leave you when you are in trouble. While my cousins just ran off, never thinking that they had a female cousin who was left behind. But my cousins apologized. They also explained why they've forgotten me. They said they were confused and didn't know what to do. I told them that it's okay because whoever you ask, when you're in that kind of situation, you'll be really confused and panicked. We spent the night at Rowena's home. And while we were getting ready to sleep, Rowena's parents talked about the fact that there is indeed an Aswang roaming around their village. Maybe we were the Aswang's next victims. That's why it followed us and watched us secretly. I found out that Rona was pregnant because she and her boyfriend had already confessed to his parents. The next day, we returned to our village together with the parents of Rona's boyfriend. They are visiting Nora's parents and to talk about the marriage of their children. At first, my aunt even scolded me for thinking I was a conspirator. Why didn't I tell them what happened to Rona? But when I said that I didn't know what Rona was doing, and I didn't even know that she had a boyfriend, my aunt apologizes when Rona confessed. I had a hunch then, maybe the Aswang followed us because Rona was pregnant. The Aswang smelled the life that was growing in Nora's womb. And I heard they are crazy for unborn babies. After both parties talked, everything went well and my cousin was very excited that she was getting married. By now, we have our own families and I have moved to another area, but it is still part of Leyte. That's all of my story. Thank you very much for listening. Again, I'm Christine of Mahaplag, Leyte. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you like it. Please support my channel by subscribing, liking the video, leaving a comment and sharing this video. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you will be updated on the next stories. Thank you.